We also, then if they read 10, we use some of our activity money and buy pizza for the kids. And if they read all 20, our local public library will give them a trophy and we will give them a gift certificate. So we have all of that. There's lots of ways to keep track of books. If you do register, then you get the activity packet. I put in a packet from last year so you can see the types of things. And if you join the IL listserv, a lot of times there are people out there who will then there's a lot of people out there who are willing to share, like, oh, look, I made a Bitmoji of all of the Coddle books, so they can click on it and then they can hear or see like a 1-minute video about it. So you can also join the Coddle Community Google Classroom. That is a great resource, especially if you want to host Battle of the Books, because there's a crowdsourced questions in there, crowdsourced questions. And of course, then you would get to vote in March. So here's a picture of our Battle of the Books. We are actually at one of our wonderful schools just a little bit south of us. We've done it both in person and online. You can see that they're using the physical buzzer system when we're in person, but there is a way to do it online. We used Buzz In Live when we were online, and I gave a link to the Buzz Out lockers that we have. I love that those questions in the Coddle Community Classroom helps you from, it's like, oh, that's right, I read the book 10 months ago and I've only read 40 books since then. So what was this one about again? It really helps to have, you know, more people working on the project, to have that crowdsourced questions. Other ways we promote books. We promote books during March Madness. We set up brackets. I've given an example online for more people, and then you can see half of our bulletin board there. We then had little, once they won their challenge against each other, then you'd go to the next line, and then we started using little pictures of the covers. And so eventually we had a picture of the cover that was the winner. A lot of times I will put the Coddles on here as well, just as one more way to get kids excited and learning about that as well. Book talks. These are short little commercials about books. You can do them live. You can do them online and just have them sort of like looped. You can have students make 1-minute videos. And here are just a bunch of links that, you know, if you're going to get started in book talks, what are some things to keep in mind? What are some ways to work with this and figure this out? Blind date with a book. I did this 1 year, but I should have chosen the books instead of her. There are some tips and tricks and a link at that top. What you do is you basically wrap the book. You put the genre on the outside and a short teaser description. It's helpful to then write the call number on the outside somewhere so you can check it out directly without having to unwrap the book and spoil the surprise. I did ask students to give it a real chance to read 25 pages before returning. I said my downfall with this is I was busy, so I had somebody else choose the books, and they chose books that she remembered from her childhood 30 years ago. So that was not good. I needed to choose like the best and the brightest if I was going to do this again in February. Great to go along with Valentine's Day. Book tasting. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun. You can get really fancy and make plates and all sorts of things. But basically, you take your tables and you divide them by genres. You have a bunch of books on each genre, and you let the kids like read, you know, you set a timer for 1 minute. All you have to do is you take your book for 1 minute, you peruse it. And then you keep a list of things that you think you would like to delve more into at the time. So here are some other links to give some ideas of how to set this up. Book fairs. Wow, some of you probably already do a lot of book fairs, but there's more choices out there than you might think. Obviously, everybody knows Scholastic. Scholastic has been doing this a long time. At the middle school, we did not sell enough for them to send us the cases anymore, and ours was just tabletop. So I've gone with Anderson's. Anderson's is up here in Northern Illinois. And I got to get the light going again. No, maybe there we go. Are up here in Northern Illinois, and they do have a radius in Lake and Cook County. We're at the far edges that they will actually come and bring to us. But Barnes and Noble, especially if a local store near you. For a while there, I was an Usborne rep, and they've now changed their name to Paper Pie, but they actually have some really good books, not so much of the junk. And then I just found Brave book fairs. I have never done a Brave book fair. My elementary has done literati. The bookcases that you see in the picture are from a literati book fair. I was impressed with them. More books, less junk. I found out when I did Scholastic, the kids would want to buy the smelly pens and the eraser in the shape of $100 bill and that type of stuff, as opposed to really getting things in the hands of kids. So I have done the top 3 and Usborne, if we have other questions later. Bernie's Books. Bernie's Books is up here in the Chicagoland area. It is a book distribution. Your school needs to be a Title I school. You register with them, and then it used to be 2 bags of 6 books a year, and now they've changed it to 8 books, and they'll distribute 1 bag per year. There is a registration process to go through. And it is, as you can see, the kids are opening up their bags. They get a random bag, and then we give them time to trade, to, hey, I ended up getting a girly book, and, I don't want to read about princesses. Anybody want to read about princesses? And they swap. And then I have a cart of books they always give you a couple extra bags. So if somebody didn't want to take all 8 books and they only wanted to take 6, this goes up to 6th grade each year. So if you're 7th and above, this is not a program for you. However, Bernie's Books is also a place where you can donate books. They have very strict guidelines about donating books. I mean, you can't have any dog ears. It can't be yellow pages. You can't have the cap, that top right at the top of the spine sometimes starts to wear a little bit. The corners, if they're worn a little bit and you can see the cardboard, they don't want them. So if you're looking like, hey, I have all of these books, my kids are no longer reading them. Let's get the right book for the right kid, and let's see who else might want to read these. This is a possible place. They have very exacting standards for donation. Book giveaways. There is a map. Little Free Libraries is a worldwide organization. I've linked to the map so you can see what is around you. To become an official Little Free Library, you do pay the $150 registration fee. I think that's the fee. And then you're actually added onto this map. What do I give away? I give away the extra Bernie's books that the kids didn't take. If you all of a sudden weed and you end up with a whole bunch of things, some people sell them for $0.25. Some people just put them out on carts for new teacher orientation or the first days of school, or those days when you have the whole community come and you just say free books. Other ways to get rid of books that you weed, Scarce is in the Chicagoland area. That is a great spot for teachers. All you have to do is go in, get your ID registered, and you can walk out with $5 worth of stuff. You never know what you're going to get, but I haven't bought a stapler or scissors or crayons. They always have binders. They have a lot of books. You get an entire box for $5. So that is a great place for people looking for cheap books, or if you need to donate and get rid of your books or school supplies or that type of stuff. One more place to help get rid of books that you've weeded and it's like, okay, I don't know who else needs them, but we've got to get them out of here. The Better World books. And I've given a link to the map where you can find those and put those in there. Okay, large programming, meaning like you're doing a whole class at a time or like a community days, those types of things. Author visits and speaker visits. The kids get so excited when you bring other people in. Yes, you have to sort of teach expectations so they have an idea of what to expect and what to do. But I've given you a whole bunch of links, not only to what should you think about before you invite an author, excuse me, but then how do you do that? How do you go about contacting them? So the last line is all sorts of places for different authors. A lot of times you would contact their publisher. If they're really small, sometimes you contact them directly in order to say, hey, would you do an office? Would you do a school visit? This can get really expensive. So partnering with other schools in the area, seeing if they would do a Zoom visit versus an in-person visit. One of the things to remember is to, especially if it's an author, to always have your kids read some of the books ahead of time, having them talked it up. Sometimes authors will come for a reduced amount if you buy so many books. So those are some ways in order to have author or speaker visits. Okay, I'm just now noticing that we have chats. Oh, Jennifer Nielsen is amazing. Okay, there we go. Thanks for putting in the Caudle Community Classroom one again. Yes, I will be. Okay, I will make sure that there is a link to the presentation. I'll make sure there's a link to the presentation. At the end of this, I will stop sharing my screen and go ahead and plug that into the chat as well. A family reading night. Every year, the Illinois Secretary of State has an official one. This year, it's going to be on November 16th. And people do a lot of different things. Sometimes they have a big author. Sometimes they have somebody dress up as a book character. Sometimes they have a readathon. We've done Cozy Up with a Good Book. Sometimes they have different stations. Things that we've done at our literacy nights, you can see we open up our makerspace. This is our giant checker game that a family is enjoying. Giant Scrabble, you can go ahead. The link is to print Scrabble tiles that you could then laminate. I've also just done about 3x5 cards, putting all of that in. And it's more of like, can you use the letters as opposed to adding up points? Obviously word searches, Boggle, one word stories, Mad Lib, magnetic poetry. I've gotten a whole bunch of magnetic poetry and then we've just given cookie sheets to the kids and then they put the magnetic poetry on their cookie sheet to do that. Wordle, I am excited to try that this year. Just the game of somebody would go ahead and choose a starting word. And again, I'm just going to make it out of 3x5 cards. That's cheap. I've got them. I will have colored ones for the correct letters, like the bright yellow, bright green ones for the correct ones, and then bright yellow cards for you've got the letter, but it's in the wrong place. Nathan Levy's Stories with Holes. That is... Have you guys ever heard of that? I love it because it asks for yes, no questions, and it gets people thinking outside the box. I thought I had put a link in there, but I'm not seeing it right now. Okay, let me see if I can figure out how to see my author's notes when I'm doing a slide. Oh, no, author's notes. Okay, author's notes. I need to minimize all of you. because I actually put the one of them down here so you could see so you could hear a little bit of it. Nope, 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 don't do that. Stop. Okay. I don't think that's going to work. In fact, I think I'm just messing up my slideshow right now. I'm going to stop doing that and go back. Let's see if I can get it off the top of my head. So you have a story where this man every day gets up, gets dressed, eats breakfast, he lives on the 12th floor. He gets in the elevator and pushes 1 and then goes about his day to work. And then every night when he comes home, he gets on the elevator, pushes the button 6 for the elevator, and then gets off and walks floors 7 through 12 to get back to his apartment. Now you can ask yes, no questions to try to figure out why in the world is he doing that? No, 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 no. Does anybody want to take a gander?
Is he visiting someone on the 6th floor?
No. Good thinking. Anyone else? I don't want to take up a whole lot of time with this, but you would continue to ask questions. I've written out kids have written out the questions on 3x5 cards, and then I've either written yes or no and just had it as a sort of a passive, come ask your question when you come into the library, and it might take us a week to solve this. Okay. I'm going to keep going then. Small group programming. In order to make sure that the kids can get time in the library, we're on a completely flexible schedule this year. Now that we've had somebody hired for the elementary libraries, I am now seeing every middle school student, once every 2 weeks. It gives me a couple of flexible days. And so how else do we get our students in here is we offer them library lunch. So after they eat their lunch, they can come in, like 15 to 20 of them can come in for like the last 15 minutes of lunch. Or then we have after school library on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the library aide adjusts her hours. So she comes in an hour and a half later and then stays an hour and a half in order to accommodate that after school program. But as you can see, we've got brain flakes. This student made this train completely out of brain flakes. There are templates on like, hey, if you want to make a train, this is how you would do it. The things in the middle are strawbees. We have kids who love to play exploding kittens. And then you can see the game of life there. Makerspace, what other types of things can you have kids do during those time spaces? We've got all sorts of board games. We've got non-electronic hands-on activities. Obviously, we've got the jigsaw puzzle. Those are strawbees. You have these connectors that connect straws. So those are called strawbees. The bottom left picture is bananagrams. And then you see people working with our giant Jenga set. A lot of these also have task cards or challenges that instead of just like, well, now what do I do with this? You could actually have challenges. So a Lego might be for St. Patrick's Day, you might build a leprechaun catcher, something like that. Shannon McClintock Miller, if you don't know her, she is amazing. She does the Library Voice blog, and she always does choice boards. She's kind enough to share them, but especially during the pandemic, this is when we used these a ton. So it's just different choices. She makes a Google slide. She puts little boxes in there, and then each box is a link to something else. Maybe it's a video on different things that you can do. For this one was Dot Day that we just had September 15th. I didn't even realize that there was an online Light Bright site. Stick Together, we'll talk a little bit later. So she has choice boards that you can adapt for you. And she's also had, I think the link is to teaching you how to make a choice board. I love Breakout EDUs. These are either online, that some of them are free online, or you can purchase the kit. You can see the kit has a box there. I put lollipops in the box and these signs for them. You can see that there's a hasp that's with the red and the 6 holes. And then we have a variety of different locks that the students had to solve the puzzles to get the locks open. You don't have to buy the locks or the kit from them. It's good to have one as a starter, but I've since then made several kits just by going to my local hardware store. The Breakout EDU does have some of the best specialty locks, however, and they have a wide variety of locks. So the blue lock you see on the table there is actually a directional lock. They had to find directions up, down, left, right. Any combinations of those. Some of the locks have colors on them. Some of them are shapes. Some of them are letters. So a nice wide variety of locks you can get from Breakout EDU. So passive programming would be more the things that you put up and you just leave. This would be the Nathan Levy's Stories with Holes. This is Stick Together that you can get from Demco. My students love taking little stickers and helping build the picture. We have different holiday themes as well. We asked them to decorate a pumpkin, no carving, but just decorate a pumpkin. They wrote on the leaves what they were thankful for. And then we actually made put them up on a bulletin board. You can have a whole lot of the days. You could have poem of the day, quote of the day, word of the day, comic of the day. There's a pep talk generator of the day. So this is the far side from Monday. I just have those little calendars at the end of the school year. In January, I tend to try to get the next calendar for the next year, and we just have fun with them. Another sort of passive put it out and forget it type of programming is coloring sheets. Not only small ones, but you can get these giant coloring banners as well. And for those of you who say, well, my student decided to write inappropriate things in there. Well, that happened on this one as well. And we took darker colors and just colored it over. Story walks. These are when you take a book, you purchase the book, and then I know it's hard. You literally cut it up so people can walk and read the story. You would walk. This would be more for your younger kids, less than a chapter book, but this is actually a fun thing to do with like a group of kids, coming up with, well, what kind of, having them create the story walk, taking the books and mounting them on different places. We use Realtor, the plastic and realtor ones, signs, things like that. Collaborative programming, DI. I love Destination Imagination. This is a huge program. They've got a wide variety of things. We run after school clubs with our kids. From September through May, we get them ready for regionals. They've got 2 challenges. One challenge that they prep basically 6 months for, and then one challenge that is an instant challenge. Instant challenges are wonderful things. I've linked to a whole bunch of different libraries. This might be, I've given you 3 pieces of tape and 4 index cards. Make a chain as long as you can. You've got 5 minutes in your group, go. Collaborative programming, we always do Scripps National Spelling Bee. Here are some links to different recycling programs we use. The picture is of the art contest that the local public library had, and we really encouraged it by going out and getting the canvases that they could use. We've got Calm Classroom and Brain Gym. And then earlier today, I had somebody ask about grants. You know, how do you go ahead and fund, you know, budget is always a problem. How do you get more money to boost up your library program? And so I've gone ahead and put together a whole bunch of grant possibilities. And then, are there any questions?